Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled. Before we jump in, just a quick note. This deep dive is, based on translated conversations with Iranian philosophers, so sometimes those little details can get lost, in translation. We apologize for any discrepancies there, but, we're doing our best. We're on episode 24 out of 50.
Wow.
In our journey through Marifat with Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani.
Absolutely.
And today we are diving into the wisdom of Saadi of Shiraz.
Yes.
Specifically a parable from his Golistan rose garden that really, gets you thinking about how we use our time.
It's a story that just, resonates across cultures and centuries.
Yeah.
This parable of a child trading a priceless golden ring for a few dates. It's Saadi's brilliant way of showing us how we so often undervalue something so incredibly precious, our time.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it?
Yes.
This child given this beautiful gift by his loving father, and then he just trades it away. It really makes you wonder, what are we trading our golden rings for in our own lives?
And that's exactly the question Saadi wants us to grapple with,
Yeah.
If our lifespan is like that golden ring, irreplaceable, finite, are we spending it on things that truly matter? Or are we, like the child, captivated by the sweetness of the moment, those dates that provide only fleeting satisfaction?
Dr. Dinani really hit on something when he talked about how hard it is to even put a price on time.
Right.
Especially when we consider it from the perspective of eternity.
It's a profound point, How do we measure the value of something that's so immeasurable? And if we can't quantify it, how do we even make sure we're not just squandering it?
Right.
Both Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani seem to suggest that pursuing knowledge, particularly knowledge of the divine, is where time's true value lies.
I'm curious, what exactly does knowledge of the divine mean in this context? It sounds pretty abstract.
Yeah, it's not about just memorizing scriptures or doctrines. Saadi, like many mystics, sees it as a lifelong quest for deeper understanding. For moving closer to what he calls the ultimate truth, a truth that's often equated with God.
Okay.
It's about peeling back the layers, asking those difficult why questions, and constantly seeking a more profound connection with something bigger than ourselves.
So it's less about knowing specific facts and more about cultivating a certain way of being, a way of seeking.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the child in the parable.
Okay.
Saadi uses him to show how even adults can live very childlike lives, chasing after immediate gratification without truly understanding the value of what they're giving up.
It's interesting that Dr. Larijani makes a distinction between focusing on the how, the practical skills and achievements, versus the why, the underlying purpose and meaning behind our actions.
It's crucial. We can be so incredibly skilled and successful at how to do things, but if we never pause to ask why we're doing them, are we truly making the most of our golden ring? Are we just gathering dates, or are we tending to the orchard of our lives, nurturing something that will bear fruit for years to come?
That's a beautiful analogy. So are you saying that questioning our why is the key to using our time wisely?
It's certainly a starting point, It leads us to a deeper awareness of ourselves and our motivations, helps us distinguish between fleeting desires and true aspirations. Ultimately, it guides us towards a more meaningful use of our limited time.
And perhaps even towards that ultimate why that Dr. Larijani talked about, that understanding of our connection to the divine.
That's where Saadi seems to be leading us. He suggests that aligning ourselves with this ultimate why is the path to true fulfillment, the way to stop trading away our precious time for things that ultimately leave us empty.
I remember that Quranic verse, alayhi salu, how questioning ceases when we reach that ultimate understanding. It's like Saadi is suggesting that the quest for knowledge, the persistent asking of why, is a journey towards that state of divine knowing.
It's a powerful idea, and what's so compelling is that it bridges ancient wisdom with a timeless spiritual concept. It suggests that seeking knowledge, particularly knowledge of the divine, isn't just about enriching our lives here and now. It's about aligning ourselves with something eternal.
But I recall Dr. Dinani reminding us that reaching this understanding doesn't mean we stop questioning entirely, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He emphasizes a shift in the focus of our inquiry.
Okay.
It's less about the how and why and more about deepening our connection to that ultimate truth. It's about continual unveiling, a constant striving to see more clearly.
That's a beautiful way to describe it.
Yeah.
A process of continual unveiling.
Yeah.
So Saadi isn't giving us all the answers. He's inviting us on a journey of discovery.
Precisely. And it's a journey we can all embark on regardless of our background or beliefs.
Okay.
Saadi's wisdom transcends cultural and religious boundaries.
It sounds like quite the adventure. and potentially a challenging one.
Mm-hmm.
How do we even begin to polish the mirror of the heart, as Saadi calls it? Where do we find the tools and guidance to embark on this journey?
That's where Saadi's teachings offer some valuable insights. He speaks of self-reflection, of being mindful of our thoughts and actions, and of seeking wisdom from those who have walked the path before us, and perhaps most importantly, of cultivating humility, a quality that allows us to see ourselves and the world with greater clarity and honesty.
Humility. That's interesting. It seems to play a central role in Saadi's teachings, especially when it comes to connecting with this idea of the divine.
It's a cornerstone of his philosophy. For Saadi, humility isn't about self-deprecation or putting ourselves down. It's about recognizing our place within the larger order of existence.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers and being open to learning from others, from the wisdom traditions, even from life's challenges.
So it's about stepping outside of our ego and our limited perspectives, recognizing that there's a bigger picture we might not fully grasp.
Exactly. And in that recognition and that willingness to let go of our preconceived notions and embrace a sense of wonder, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding, a more profound connection with the world and with the divine.
This is also fascinating. I'm starting to see how Saadi's teachings go far beyond simply telling us what to do or believe.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a certain way of being in the world, a way of approaching life with curiosity, humility, and a deep thirst for knowledge and understanding.
That's beautifully put. Saadi isn't offering us a set of rules or doctrines.
Yeah.
He's inviting us on a journey of self-discovery, a journey that's ultimately about aligning ourselves with our truest nature, with that which gives our lives meaning and purpose.
I'm already feeling inspired to take a closer look at my own golden ring, how I'm spending my time, what I'm prioritizing, and whether my actions are aligned with my deepest whys.
That's the heart of Saadi's message. He's reminding us that we have a choice. We can continue trading our precious time for fleeting pleasures, for those dates that offer only temporary satisfaction, or we can invest it in cultivating those qualities of being, those connections, those experiences that will nourish us and enrich our lives in a lasting way.
It makes me think of that beautiful line from Dr. Larijani, how the greatest value of this golden ring, our time, is to purchase eternity through the pursuit of divine knowledge. It's such a powerful and poetic way to express this idea.
And it's an idea worth pondering as we continue our exploration of Saadi's wisdom. Perhaps as we delve deeper, we'll discover that the true worth of our golden ring is far beyond anything we could have ever imagined.
I have a feeling this is just the beginning of a very insightful journey.
Indeed, Saadi's teachings offer a wealth of wisdom waiting to be unveiled. We've only just scratched the surface, but I have a sense there are many more gems to uncover.
So for those of you listening, as we move into the next part of this deep dive, I encourage you to keep those questions about your own golden ring in mind. What are you trading it for? What are your whys? And are they leading you towards a life that truly resonates with your heart and soul?
It all circles back to that idea of distant nearness that we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
You know, the wisdom, the divine, it's not something out there that we need to go search for. It's already present within us.
Like that verse from the Quran that Saadi references, we are nearer to him than his jugular vein. It's a beautiful reminder that this connection is always available if we just open ourselves to it.
And that opening, that receptivity is what Saadi seems to suggest is cultivated through humility. Not in the sense of self-deprecation, but in the sense of recognizing our place within the larger order of existence.
So it's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers and being willing to learn from others, from those who have walked the path before us.
Exactly. There's a beautiful passage in the Gulistan where Saadi talks about the importance of seeking guidance from those who are wiser and more experienced. He says, if you wish to drink the water of life, go to the fountainhead.
I love that imagery. It speaks to this idea of lineage, of tapping into a wellspring of wisdom that's been passed down through generations.
It's about finding those fountainheads of wisdom in our own lives, teachers, mentors, even the wisdom traditions themselves, and being open to their guidance. And this brings us back to that distinction between why and how that Dr. Larijani was highlighting.
Right.
The how is about acquiring knowledge, learning the skills, mastering the techniques. But the why is about understanding the deeper purpose, the underlying principles, the connection to something greater.
It's like we need both, right? The how gives us the tools, the methods, the practical know-how. But the why gives us the direction, the meaning, the fuel to keep going.
And it's in the pursuit of that why in the constant questioning and seeking that we begin to polish the mirror of the heart.
Speaking of which, can we dive a little deeper into that metaphor? I find it so evocative, but I'm still not entirely sure what Saadi means by polishing the mirror of the heart.
It's one of those phrases that's both simple and profound. Think of it this way. The heart, in Saadi's view, isn't just the seat of emotions. It's also the seat of perception, of understanding, of spiritual insight.
So it's like our inner lens through which we view the world.
Precisely. And just like a physical mirror can become clouded with dust, our hearts can become clouded by those things that distort our perception. Ego, desires, attachments, limiting beliefs.
Ah, I see. So polishing is about clearing away those obstructions so we can see more clearly both ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. And that clarity is essential for cultivating humility, for connecting with that sense of distant nearness, for ultimately reaching that state of understanding where questioning ceases because we've aligned ourselves with the ultimate truth.
It sounds like an ongoing process, this polishing of the heart. It's not a one-time thing. It's a continual practice of self-reflection, of purification, of refinement.
It's a lifelong journey. And Saadi, in his characteristically compassionate way, reminds us that it's not about reaching some state of perfection. It's about...
Instead of getting stuck in a shame spiral, we can ask ourselves, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? How can I do better next time?
Exactly. And this brings us to another key concept in Saadi's work, the idea of tajalli.
Oh yes, tajalli. Those moments of revelation, of insight, of sudden clarity. I was hoping we'd get to this.
Dr. Dinani describes tajalli as a glimpse of the divine light, a moment where the veil between us and the ultimate truth is lifted, and we experience a profound sense of connection and understanding.
It's like those aha moments where everything suddenly clicks into place. A flash of inspiration, a sudden realization, a deep intuitive knowing.
Precisely. And what's interesting is that both the Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani suggest that these moments of tajalli are more likely to occur when we've cultivated humility, when we've been engaged in that process of polishing the mirror of the heart.
So it's not something we can force or control. It's a gift, a grace that comes when we've created the right conditions within ourselves. But it's a gift that's available to anyone who seeks it.
Beautifully put. And what's so inspiring about Saadi's message is that he believes this gift is available to everyone, not just a select few. It's a matter of turning our attention inward, of cultivating those qualities of the heart, humility, compassion, sincerity, that allow us to become more receptive to this divine light.
It makes me think of that parable of the child and the ring again. Maybe the golden ring of time isn't just about our lifespan. Maybe it's also about our capacity for spiritual growth, for connection with something larger than ourselves.
That's a profound insight. And it suggests that when we waste time on those fleeting pleasures, those dates that offer only temporary satisfaction, we're not just squandering our precious hours, we're also neglecting the potential for something far greater, far more enduring.
It's like we're settling for a handful of dates when we could be inheriting an entire orchard.
Exactly. And that orchard in Saadi's view is the orchard of wisdom, of divine knowledge, of that ultimate connection that gives our lives meaning and purpose.
So the question becomes, how do we cultivate the wisdom to make the most of our golden ring? What practices can we incorporate into our daily lives to help us polish the mirror of the heart and become more receptive to those moments of tajalli?
That's where Saadi's teachings offer practical guidance. He emphasizes the importance of self-reflection, of being mindful of our thoughts and actions, of surrounding ourselves with those who inspire us to be our best selves.
So it's not just about reading wise words. It's about embodying those words in our daily lives, making them a lived reality.
Precisely. And it's in that lived experience, the messiness and imperfections of our human journey, that the true beauty of Saadi's wisdom shines through.
He's not offering us a set of rigid rules or a path to some unattainable perfection. He's offering us a way of being in the world, a way of navigating the ups and downs of life with grace, compassion, and a constant striving towards wisdom.
And that's a path that's open to all of us, regardless of our background beliefs or current circumstances. It's a matter of taking that first step, of making that conscious choice to turn inward, to begin the process of polishing the mirror of the heart.
It's about remembering that we all have that golden ring within us, and it's up to us to determine its true worth.
And perhaps as we delve deeper into Saadi's wisdom, we'll discover that its true worth is far beyond anything we could have ever imagined. We see this theme of distant nearness emerging again. Saadi surrounded by people in Baalbek, yet feeling utterly alone. It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yes, that sense of being physically present, but miles apart in understanding. It must have been a deeply isolating experience for Saadi.
It was. And instead of blaming others for this disconnect, he turned inward, reflecting on his role in bridging the gap. This self-awareness, this humility is a powerful example for us. Instead of trying to change others, we can focus on our own growth.
It's so easy to get caught up in frustration when others don't get us. But perhaps those moments are invitations to look within and see what we can learn.
Precisely. It's about taking responsibility for our own understanding and growth. And Saadi also identified hypocrisy as a major obstacle to genuine connection.
Hypocrisy. How does that fit into this idea of distant nearness?
Saadi saw hypocrisy as a form of spiritual pollution, something that clouds our hearts and minds, preventing us from seeing clearly.
So it's not just about outright lying, but also those subtle ways we distort ourselves to fit in, please others, or inflate our egos. It's about a lack of authenticity, right?
Exactly. And Saadi believed that this lack of authenticity creates a barrier, making it difficult for others to connect with us on a deeper level. It's like we're hiding behind a mask, preventing true intimacy and understanding.
It makes you wonder how much hypocrisy prevents us from experiencing tajalli, those moments of genuine connection and clarity.
It's an intriguing question. Perhaps when we're caught up in pretense, we create an internal dissonance that blocks our receptivity to those glimpses of truth.
So cultivating authenticity becomes crucial, which requires a deep level of self-awareness and honesty.
Absolutely. And Saadi provides some guidance on how to cultivate that authenticity. He uses this fascinating metaphor of dust and fire to explain how we can overcome hypocrisy.
Dust and fire. I'm intrigued. What does that mean?
Think of dust as representing our original pure state, our innate goodness, our potential. It's the essence of who we are at our core.
It's like that untouched, untainted part of ourselves, the spunk of the divine within us.
Yes. And then you have fire representing our passions, desires, and ego. These are powerful energies that can propel us, but also lead us astray if left unchecked.
It's not that fire is inherently bad, but it needs to be managed right.
Exactly. Saadi believed we have a choice. We can let those inner fires consume us and lead to hypocritical behaviors, or we can learn to master them, making conscious choices aligned with our values.
So it's about recognizing when those desires are pulling us away from our authentic selves, and then making different choices that reflect our true nature.
That's the heart of it. Saadi emphasizes self-awareness and making choices that reflect our deepest values. He also talks about polishing the mirror of the heart in this context.
Ah, yes, that beautiful image again. So how does that connect to overcoming hypocrisy? How does polishing the mirror help us manage the fire of our desires?
Picture a dusty mirror. You can't see your reflection clearly. It's distorted and blurry. Saadi suggests the same thing happens to our hearts when they're clouded by ego desires and limiting beliefs. We can't see ourselves honestly, which leads to inauthentic behavior and hinders genuine connection.
Polishing the mirror of the heart is about clearing away those internal obstacles so we can see ourselves and the world more clearly and honestly. It's about uncovering that dust of our true nature.
Precisely. It's a continual process of self-reflection, recognizing our patterns and choosing to align our actions with our values. This clarity is essential for true humility.
And true humility is key to experiencing tajalli.
Indeed. It's about aligning our actions with our values even when no one is watching. It's an inward journey, not a performance for others. It's about stripping away the masks of hypocrisy and revealing our genuine selves.
This is all so rich and thought-provoking. It seems Saadi's wisdom isn't just about acquiring knowledge, but about cultivating certain qualities of being, qualities that allow us to live more authentically and connect more deeply with ourselves and others.
That's beautifully put. Saadi's wisdom invites us to embark on a lifelong journey of self-discovery and refinement, a journey toward greater authenticity, connection, and ultimately a more meaningful life. And it's a journey that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to face our own inner fire with compassion and understanding.
It's fascinating how Saadi uses these powerful metaphors like the golden ring and the mirror of the heart to convey these, profound truths. They're simple enough for a child to grasp, yet they hold, these layers of meaning that we can continue to unpack throughout our lives.
Yeah, it's a hallmark of his genius. Saadi was a master storyteller, a poet who really understood the power of imagery and metaphor to touch the human soul. He wasn't just trying to teach us these abstract concepts. He wanted us to be inspired to, live differently, to see the world with new eyes.
And it seems that one of the key transformations he's inviting us to make is in our relationship with time.
Right.
It's not just a commodity to be, spent or managed, but a precious resource, a gift that allows us to connect with something eternal.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our time is not just our own. It's a gift from the divine, an opportunity to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and connection. It's about making choices that reflect our deepest values and aspirations, not just our fleeting desires.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. Instead of seeing time as something that's just, slipping away, we can view it as a bridge to something greater.
Yeah.
A pathway to that distant nearness that Saadi speaks of.
And that brings us back to that pivotal moment in Baalbek where Saadi is surrounded by people felt utterly alone. It's a poignant reminder that even when we're physically close to others, there can still be this profound sense of disconnection.
It makes me think of how often we go through life feeling isolated, even when we're surrounded by loved ones, colleagues, or even crowds of people. There's this sense of yearning for something more, for a deeper connection that goes beyond, superficial interactions.
And that's where Saadi's teachings offer a way forward. He understood that true connection starts with ourselves, with the work of polishing the mirror of the heart and cultivating those qualities of being that allow us to see ourselves and others with greater clarity and compassion.
So it's not about finding the right people or being in the right place, but about creating the conditions within ourselves for genuine connection to occur.
Beautifully put. It's about recognizing that the barriers to connection often lie within us, in our own ego, our fears, our limiting beliefs. It's about doing the inner work of purification and refinement so that we can show up in the world as our most authentic selves.
And that authenticity, that willingness to be vulnerable and open-hearted, is what allows us to bridge the gap between ourselves and others, to experience that distant nearness in our relationships and interactions.
Precisely. It's about letting go of pretense, of trying to be someone we're not, and embracing the messy, imperfect beauty of our true nature. It's about showing up with humility and sincerity, willing to listen deeply, to connect with empathy, and to share our own experiences with vulnerability and courage.
It sounds like a radical act in a world that often values, perfection or performance and putting on a brave face.
It is a radical act, and it's a path that requires ongoing effort, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge those societal norms that keep us disconnected from ourselves and each other. But the rewards are immeasurable. Deeper intimacy, greater self-awareness, and a sense of belonging that transcends the boundaries of our individual selves.
This deep dive into Saadi's wisdom has been truly illuminating. I'm walking away with a renewed sense of hope, a deeper understanding of my own relationship with time, and a commitment to cultivate those qualities of being that allow me to connect more authentically with myself and the world around me.
And perhaps that's the greatest gift Saadi offers us, the invitation to embark on a lifelong journey of self-discovery and refinement, a journey that leads us toward greater wisdom, compassion, and connection, and ultimately to a life that's filled with meaning, purpose, and love.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Saadi's parable. We hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as we did. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep polishing that mirror of the heart.